Hello everyone, welcome back to SwitchUp and to a video where we're going to highlight an indie game that's just been released called W.A.N.D Project, or W.A.N.D Project, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, I'm going to go with W.A.N.D myself. But
yeah, I'd say so.
You do what you got to do.
This is a roguelite that feels a little bit like Vampire Survivors, very addictive game, and I think you're going to enjoy it. The publisher has given us a couple of copies to give away as they've sponsored this episode. Let us know in the comments what your favourite one of these is. What would you even call this? They're bullet heavens, is it? Something like that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's go for any sort of twin stick roguelite.
I like that.
Yeah. That covers it, I reckon.
So what's it all about? Well, let's find out. The story goes that Yumi is a young descendant of magical warriors who have fought back against an alien race that are invading the Earth, or whatever planet this is, I don't remember it saying. And that's basically it. It does work similar to other roguelites, where each run different things will happen. There are other characters as well. One of them is a mysterious character on a mobile phone. And then there's also your wand, which is chatting away.
Yeah, it's one of those where your weapon speaks to you. We've had that in a few different games and different media over the years. Just injects a little bit of humour as you go through the game, and you have a few cutscenes that explain things on each run.
As for gameplay then, well, you've got a few options to get you started. You can begin with a quick run, which will take all of the faff out of it and you'll literally just begin your first foray into this world, or you can just choose new run, which gives you a few options. Firstly, there's the character, and they have different traits, don't they?
Yeah, you'll start with just one, and obviously you can unlock a couple more as you go through, but your starter character is a bit more agile, whereas, say the second one, for example, I believe starts with an extra spell, and we'll explain exactly what I mean by spell in a moment.
You've also got a choice of wand, and these again will have different elemental traits. Once you've decided that, you've got 4 different stages, but you will need to defeat the final boss within a stage before you unlock the next one. So then into the runs.
Yeah, so each run consists of 10 waves, with the 10th wave being that boss battle that Mark mentioned a moment ago. Now, I mentioned spells, and basically before each of these waves, you will be presented with, a board, I guess is the best way to describe it, where you can buy different cards and place them on the board, and you'll have to buy extra slots as you go along. And these basically act as the spells or abilities that you have for each of the subsequent runs after that.
Yeah, the modular board system is actually quite clever. It feels a little bit like algorithms that Glen and I used to have to use when we were teaching something called computing in schools. Something called computing, like it's some mysterious thing. But you can rotate those pressing the Y button and click them in. And there's this constant back and forth between trying to fit everything in that you want, but also trying to balance your currency, which is called essence and can be seen in the corner, because you'll require that to unlock new spaces. Now, all of these modules do have a cost, and they also have a ranking, and there's a few different things that you can do, aren't there?
Yeah, so for example, you could have 2 of the same card or modules, and you could lock these together or fuse them together to create a stronger element or a stronger version of that particular modular. And you have spells that you can buy, but you also have more passive effects that you can click onto these. So for example, it may be that every time you cast a spell or every few times, you'll get a bit of health back if you've clicked those 2 particular modules together.
Yeah, in its simplest form, you've got a module that does a thing. So it might be fire damage, lightning, whatever it is, right at the beginning. Then you have what's essentially a trigger. So how is it going to trigger? Is it going to trigger when you're moving? Is it going to trigger when you're standing still? And then you have a number of effects. You tie these 3 elements together and you've got a working spell or aspect of your spells, and you can see that on the board here. There's also ways to improve the ones that you have. You can click 2 of the same together, essentially fusing them into one more powerful variant. So when I'm on a run, you've got a few options as well in terms of controls. You can have this exactly like Vampire Survivors, which is the way you can see us playing it here. And how does that work?
So yeah, if you've never played Vampire Survivors, your character will auto shoot when you're close enough to an enemy. It does feel strange at first if you've never played like that before. You'll feel as if you're not completely in control, but what it does do once you get into a flow is allow you to focus purely on evasion and let the game do the rest for you. But if you're not into that and you'd rather control your shots, then you can obviously do that too.
Yeah, like Glenn says, it's one of those that very quickly you'll realise that the easiest, most efficient way of playing is just to concentrate on dodging and let the shots do their own thing. Now, aside from that, you've got the cooldowns of your various spell elements down the bottom of the screen, and you've also got this dash move, which does something clever as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, as you dash, you'll have just a few, milliseconds of slowdown right at the end. It almost goes into slow-mo mode, just to give you a breather and to allow you to assess the situation. So as soon as you come out of that dodge, you'll know where to go next.
It feels like a real hybrid between Vampire Survivors and Brotato, both of which I think we've got reviews of on the channel.
We have, yeah.
Yeah, both excellent games, but it does. The way that you can combine two modules together to make one new one feels exactly like Brotato, where you take two of the same weapon and forge them into the next rank up. I do like that. Now, after your 9 waves, you'll reach the 10th, which has the boss in it, but invariably you will eventually perish, and that's where meta progression comes in.
Yeah, I think the game actually calls it meta essence. It's something along those lines, and basically any of the challenges that you've completed whilst playing, so these are quite passive in what they're asking you to do. It may be to get through a certain number of waves unhit, for example, and you'll earn this meta essence, and you can then put that into your character for a new run. It's something that the best roguelites do, isn't it, really? It's for me, it's the whole point of a roguelite.
Yeah, the way that meta progression works then is you take that essence at the start of a new run, and you can either upgrade the board, reducing the cost of the various segments that you can unlock, as well as, and I didn't mention this, when you are unlocking the board, sometimes you'll unlock a tile that has an effect tied to it, which I think is quite a nice idea. So you can reduce the cost of those different tile unlocks, or you can increase the power of the wand.
Yeah. It's that board for me that makes this game so unique. Like I've played a lot of Vampire Survivors. That's a game I've finished in its regular form, before all the DLC and whatnot, and enjoyed immensely. But having this board where it's not just about fitting it all in almost a la Tetris, it's also about how many spells do you want, because they'll all have to be separate from each other, and how many effects do you want to click onto each one of those spells, and how many spaces do you want to unlock at the cost of then buying new things to then click into what you've got. It's a nice balancing act.
It really is. I guess the best of these games are they're like an addictive juggling, act of your currency to what you want to do, and then also keeping something in reserve at times so that if the one that you want comes up, and you can re-roll, but you kind of want to save the essence, if it comes up, you're ready for it.
Yeah, and what I found as well, again, being someone that's played a lot of Vampire Survivors, is in that game I knew which of the items or the spells to lock together to get my best loadout.
Yeah.
Whereas here, I was constantly trying new things because it was the possibilities seemed more because of the way it was set up,
Yeah, it actually reminded me, weirdly, a little bit of like Borderlands. There's infinite gun variations. Here, I think there's almost infinite spell variations based on what you decide and how you put those together. That then takes us on to visuals, performance and audio. Starting off with visuals, while it runs on the Unity engine, you're looking at 60 frames per second. It was very responsive, wasn't it?
Yeah, nice and responsive. Has that like pixel, almost rendered pixel look. It reminded me a bit of that 3D platformer. Is it Demon Turf?
Yeah.
That the one? Just had that look to it. Yeah, again, a nice way to go. Almost like an isometric viewpoint as well, so you can see the world around you. Yeah, I think that was a good choice.
It has a dubstep soundtrack, so whether or not you enjoy that is kind of, it's a subjective thing. But it is very upbeat and kind of ties the action nicely.
What I liked about it as well is when you were on the board screen, the music was very calming. And it reminded me of like elevator music. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? The calm before the storm. If they'd have kept that beat going through that section, it'd have been a bit much, but just having that breather was good. I
love it. Somewhere the composer's just gone, did he just describe my music as elevator music? Yeah, he's in the elevator.
There's a scene in one of the Turtles films, the Michael Bay ones, where like they're going into a fight, but they have to get into a lift first, and they're kind of standing like, and as soon as the doors open, that's what this game reminds me of,
It is, yeah, and that's good. It's good to have that balance. Yeah. If it was that carnage all the time, it would be quite annoying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
W.A.N.D Project retails at £8.99. You can see any sale price as well at the bottom of the screen, but £8.99, that's not bad at all, is it?
Yeah, no, that's a very good price. I mean, these games do generally sell for a cheap price, and that is something to bear in mind. But I will say that because of that board component, or the modular system, does enough to stand out against any competition and be a companion piece to such games, and doesn't have to be competition.
Absolutely. It's also from a team who are very renowned on Switch for creating good games. They made Tools Up, which we've played, and you know, is had a lot of extra content added to it over the years. So they're clearly going to support it for as long as they can. Yeah.
Lovely. So that's W.A.N.D Project, or W.A.N.D Project, if you like. Do let us know of your favourite game in this genre, or this subgenre if you like, and stick it down below, and we will give a couple of copies away of this particular game. A quick thank you to our patrons and our channel members for your continued support, and to each and every one of you for watching our videos. Take care, and until next time, happy gaming.